Hello and welcome to lesson 14.1, vertex form. Today we are going to write a quadratic function in vertex form and also graph a quadratic function in vertex form. So you're already familiar with standard form. So standard form, of course, is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. We could change it into vertex form. And that looks like this. Vertex form of a function is f of x equals a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k. And that form is nice because it gives you the vertex of the parabola, the most important point. And that vertex is found by taking h and k. H is always going to be the opposite of what's inside that quantity. So notice it's x minus h, but our h is actually positive. So we call that vertex form. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's using the process we already know, building a perfect square trinomial. But the problems in this lesson are considerably more difficult than the ones we had worked on earlier with complete the square. So there's a few more steps involved. So first of all, in part A here, where we have f of x equals 5x squared, we can't really complete the square until we factor out that 5. Also, we have a minus 3 that usually we would add to the other side to make our perfect square. But we can't really do that either because we have an f of x. So our process is going to be just a little different. We're going to keep our f of x on this side. We're going to factor out 5 so that we have x squared plus 8x, and here's where we're going to put our blank. We still have the minus 3. It just kind of got pushed down a little bit. And then because we have to add a blank, we need to immediately subtract a blank since we can't add it to the other side. And that will keep it balanced. So we'll be adding a blank and then immediately subtracting a blank. I know you know how to get what goes in the blank, but let's review it. We take our b term, 8, we divide it by 2, and then we square it. So we get 4 squared, which is 16. So we'll put a 16 in the blank. Okay, so we're adding 16, but not really. We're really adding 5 times 16, which is 80. So we immediately subtract 80. Sounds a little funny, but it all balances. Well, now the hard part's over. We have f of x equals 5 times. Of course, that factors into x plus 4 squared. And then this is minus 83. That means the vertex of our parabola is negative 4, negative 83. And then, of course, we know our line of symmetry, or our axis of symmetry. And that's always the x value of the vertex. So that's how we find a vertex form and how we get the vertex. And once you have your vertex, of course, that's the most important point, and we'll do some graphing on the next page with that. So now let's look at the second one. So in the second one, we have g of x this time, but same, we can't really move anything to the other side. We're going to factor out the 4, and that's going to leave us with x squared minus 3x plus blank, and then plus 1 minus blank. So to fill in the blank, of course, we're going to use our middle term divided by 2. So our middle term, which, I think our middle term is actually positive. When we factor out a negative 4, it becomes a positive 3. Now we are going to fill in our blank. So we have 3 divided by 2, which we can't really do anything with. We're going to leave it 3 over 2, and then we're going to square it. Okay. Well, 3 over 2 squared is going to give us 9 over 4. So we'll add 9 over 4 to this side, but then we have to immediately subtract it, but it's really 9 over 4 times negative 4, which is negative 36 over 4, or negative 9. So now we have g of x equals negative 4 times x plus 3 halves squared plus 10. So our vertex is negative 3 halves, positive 10. And our axis of symmetry is x equals negative 3 over 2, or negative 1.5. Also, this graph is going to go upside down because of that negative 4. Remember, when the a is negative, the graph goes upside down. When a is positive, it's going to go right side up. So this is going to be a opens down going to look like this. Whereas the one over here, where the A is positive 5, this one's going to open up. It's going to look like this. Okay, so a little bit of review from one of our earlier units. So on the next page, we're going to take one and we're going to graph it. Okay, they actually say to use your graphing calculator, but we're going to do this without. We're going to go to Vertex form, and then we're going to make a table to get the rest of the points on this one and use the line of symmetry. So let's start by getting it into vertex form. We're going to start with f of x. Give myself a little bit of room, work on the side here. So let's say we have f of x equals, we're going to factor out the negative 2, which will make x squared minus 2x plus blank plus 3 minus blank. Okay, now we'll do our negative 2 divided by 2 and square it. So that's negative 1 squared. There's my factor. Negative 1 squared is 1. So put a 1 here, but really it's a negative 2. We end up with f of x equals negative 2 times x minus 1 squared. And then 3 minus a minus 2 is plus 5. So once you have your vertex, you have your line of symmetry and you can start your graph. So this time our vertex will be 1, 5. I'm going to plot that. So over 1, up 5, right there. Also, that's my line of symmetry. So I'm going to put that in here. And I know it's going upside down because the A is negative. So now, since I have my vertex, I know that's going to go in the middle of my table. So that 1, 5 goes there, and I'm going to need their next door neighbors. So that'll be 2 and 3, 0 and negative 1. And now you can use your calculator, or you can just plug these numbers in. I like to plug in the positive numbers first, so let's take 3. So 3 minus 1 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. So we should have an order pair at 3, negative 3. And when you plug in negative 1, you're going to get the same thing out. Okay, if we do 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Times negative 2 is negative 2. Plus 5 is 3. So you get an order pair at 3. And also 0 will also give me a 3. All right, we've got a couple of ordered pairs now. We've got one at negative 1, negative 3, and a buddy on the other side. Make sure I get that at negative 1, negative 3, and that's 2 away, so it's going to have a buddy 2 away over there. And then we have one at 2, 3, 2, 3, and 0, 3. And now we've just graphed using vertex form in a table. And so changing to vertex form is important for a lot of reasons in math, but in what we've been working on, we've also learned the negative b over 2a formula, and we're going to do a little more with that in the next lesson. So let's just do one more problem. We're going to write one more function into vertex form just for practice. So number 2. Again, we have our f of x equals, factor out your 2, we have x squared, and then minus 8x plus blank plus 34. And then remember, it's always plus blank and minus blank. Then we do 8 divided by 2 squared. Actually, it's negative 8 divided by 2 squared. So negative 4 squared, which is 16. 16 here, but 32 over here. So now f of x equals 2 times quantity x minus 4 squared, and then plus 2, which means our vertex is going to be at 4, 2. And since my A is positive, my graph is going to open upward with a vertex at 4, 2. So just a little bit of awareness. for some of those things. All right, now you've got some practice, so maybe you can try putting some of those into vertex form and do some identification too, and we'll work on some of those in class as well. Thanks everybody, have a great day.